Sarca, Sorna, and Sarina. By Waranavich, the husband of a young woman, aged 25, who lived in one of the central provinces of Iran, is shot and killed by the regime's thugs during the people's uprising against the criminal and corrupt Islamic government. After being threatened not to reveal the crime, he is forced to take his teenage son and daughter and flee Iran illegally. After a month, she loses her 13-year-old son in a neighboring country, and efforts to find him are unsuccessful. The woman leaves with her daughter a year later and goes to a European country. Years pass, and the woman's daughter, who was 10 years old, turns 20, separates from her mother, and goes to another city to study at university. The woman, who is now 35, starts working for an insurance company. One evening, she goes to a nice restaurant in the city for dinner. She orders the food, and a young waiter brings the food and places it on the young woman's table. The woman thanks him and asks for some napkins. The young waiter looks at her and likes her. He reaches into his pocket and takes out a white napkin, gives it to her, and asks, "Do you live nearby?" The young woman glances at him, and the twinkle in the young waiter's eyes makes her heart flutter. She says with a smile, "Yes, how about you?" The waiter replies, "I live nearby too." The woman opens her purse and takes out a bill, writes her phone number on it, and gives it to the young man. The waiter thanks her and walks away. The next day, the young man calls the woman and invites her to dinner at a restaurant. The woman who was cooking does not recognize him at first, but then, recognizing him, says with a smile, "I am cooking. Thank you for inviting me. If you like, you can come here and try my cooking. The food is almost ready." The boy said, "Are you sure? I do not have your address." The woman gives him the address, and the boy goes to the young woman's house. The woman opens the door for him and says with a smile, "Welcome, my son." The young man smiles and says, "My son. How old are you to call me my son?" The woman asks, "How old are you?" The boy replies, 23 years old. The woman says, "I am 13 years older than you." The young man replies, "I don't care about your age. You are the one who matters to me." The woman says with a smile, Come, sit down. I will bring you food. Do you mind if I call you that? You can also call me Sarina." The boy nods and says, "My name is Sorna too." Sarina brings food to Sorna, puts on some soft music and sits with him at the table, and they have dinner together, and then, at Sorna's request, they dance together. Sorna, while dancing, holds her closer to him and presses her. Sarina says, "Oh," and laughs. Sorna kisses her soft lips passionately. Sarina likes it and abandons herself in Sorna's arms. The two of them wrap themselves around each other and make their way to the bedroom and spend a fiery and dreamy night together. Months pass, and the two spend nights and days together, and Sarina is very satisfied with spending her nights with a young man younger than her and full of sexual energy, and her desire to have sex with Sorna increases every day. They even spend the days whenever they get the chance, setting the bed on fire in each other's arms. They had already fallen in love, and separation had no meaning for them. Once, sometime later one night, Sorna got up from Sarina's bed to go to the kitchen to drink water. as he passed through the living room. His foot caught on a low table in the way, and a crystal vase fell from the table to the floor, spilling its contents out of the vase. Sorna turned on the light in the living room to collect them and put them inside the vase. At that moment, his eyes fell on a necklace that he had bought from an antique shop years ago and had given to his mother on her birthday. It was a special necklace, and it was impossible to find one like it. Then he remembered that the sole of her mother's right foot had a brown mole. He became anxious, put the vase on the table, turned off the light in the living room, and went to the bedroom. Sarina was asleep. Sorna turned on the light in the room and pushed aside the bedsheet, and was surprised to see that Sarina's right foot had the same brown mole as her mother. He turned off the light, got dressed quietly, and left Sarina's house in a state of distress. He felt very bad. Therefore, he decided, when the weather cleared, to leave his place of residence and go to another city. He really loved Sarina and had fallen in love with her. Sarina had told him, "You are and will be my only love, and I am ready to sacrifice my life for you." At that moment, Sorna's thoughts were like a whirlwind that twisted his soul and mind. Early in the morning, he called his friend and entrusted everything he had in his house to him, went to the train station, and left the city on the first train. Days and weeks passed. Sarina knocked on every door she could find. The young woman was overcome with terrible sadness. Perhaps if she had known where he was, she would not have suffered so much. Once, Sorna entered a strange city, and because he had experience in restaurant work, he was able to get a job in a large restaurant in that city. On the one hand, he was burning with his glorious love for Sarina, and on the other hand, he could not justify and cope with the embrace with his mother. That was why he tried to forget her. A few months passed. One rainy day, when he left the restaurant, he saw a young girl standing without an umbrella on the edge of a wall to let the rain stop. His heart was broken. He opened his umbrella and went to her and said politely, "If there is no misunderstanding, I would like to accompany you wherever you want to go." The girl looked at him and said, "Thank you. I don't want to bother you. I forgot to bring an umbrella with me today." Sorna said, "There is no need to thank you. One of our duties as humans is to help each other when needed. Now come on, I will take you." The girl thanked him again and said with a smile, "My house is nearby." And they set off with Sorna. The young boy said, "My name is Sorna. I have been in this city for a few months." The girl said, "How interesting. I am not from this city either, and I have been here for almost a year now. My name is Sarca. It means a noble soul, a radiant light," and she laughs. Both of them continued their journey in the heavy rain and talked to each other. The boy had told her, "There is a restaurant next to where you are standing, and I work there." The girl clung to him so that she would not have to get wet. They reached Sarc's place, and the girl said thanks and goodbye to him and went to her house. Sorna also felt good about being able to help someone. A week passed. One evening, Sarca went to the restaurant with her friend and saw Sorna. Sorna took them to a table and said, "Today you are my guests." Sarca blushed and said shyly, "Don't owe me more than this and embarrass me." Sorna said, I'll take this without hearing you say it." And he handed them the menu and went to get the appetizers. Sarca's friend said to her, "You naughty one, tell me where you trapped this handsome boy. Wow, what a handsome man. How tall he is. You naughty one, why didn't you introduce me to him?" Sarca said, "I don't know anything about him either. As I told you, one rainy day, he helped me get home." Sorna came and put the appetizers on the table and asked, "Have you chosen your favorite dishes?" And then he took the order and left. When he returned with the dishes, Sarca's friend said to him, "Next week is my birthday. I would like you to come to my birthday party with Sarca." Before Sorna could answer, Sarca said, "No excuses are acceptable. Promise that you will come." Sorna agreed, on the condition that today's meal at the restaurant be his guests. Everyone laughed. A week later, Sorna went after work to change his clothes and took 2 gifts, and with a bouquet of flowers, he headed to Sarca's house to go with her to her friend's birthday party. Sarca was waiting for Sorna at the door. The two got into a taxi and went to Sarca's friend's house. Sorna gave the bouquet of flowers to Sarca's friend and wished her a happy birthday, and gave one of the gifts he had bought to her and the other to Sarca. They had a good night and left near morning. Sarca invited Sorna to come to her house for tea or coffee, and Sorna, who was feeling tired, accepted her offer. The two of them arrived home, and Sarca went to the kitchen and returned to the living room with 2 cups of coffee. The two of them started talking about everything and getting to know each other better. Sarca got up and went to Sorna's side, sat on the sofa, and while talking, they slowly got closer and closer until a long kiss took them to the bedroom. The two of them, until morning, spent the whole next day in the bedroom, entwined and glowing in the fire of each other's embrace. Sarca did not leave Sorna. They kissed each other so much that there was no part of their bodies that was not wet. A few days later, Sarca decided to go to Sorna's house and stay there forever, because Sorna's house was bigger than Sarca's. The two began a romantic and exciting life together, and each day became more exciting than the previous one. Until 3 months later, Sarca excitedly told Sorna in the evening that she was pregnant and asked him to let her mother come to them to take care of her during the difficult period of pregnancy. Sorna, who was also going to be a father and had increased his work shifts and did not have much time, accepted Sarca's request. Sarca called her mother and told her the story and asked her to come see them. A few days later, at 8 o'clock in the evening, the doorbell rang at Sorna's house. Sorna was in the bathroom. Inevitably, Sarca went and opened the door. It was her mother. Both of them, happy, hugged each other, and Sarca looked at her pregnant mother in surprise and asked, "Mother, when did you get pregnant? When did you get a boyfriend? Tell me, did you get married? So why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me anything?" The mother kissed her daughter and said, "It's a long story. Let's go inside the house. I'll tell you later." The two of them entered the reception hall, and Sarca took her mother's suitcase and other belongings from her and moved them around and asked, "Have you eaten?" The mother said, "I ate something at the train station. Just give me some tea or coffee if you have any." The girl went to the kitchen and returned with a tray and 3 cups of coffee and said, You drink your coffee, my dear. My love is coming from the bathroom now. I have no doubt that he will be very happy to see you. Make yourself comfortable and consider this place as your home." At that moment, Sorna came out of the bathroom. He was wearing a white shirt and grey pants. As soon as he entered the living room, Sarca got up and hurriedly went to him, hugged him, and kissed him on the lips and said, "My dear mother has come. Come, say hello to her, my love." Then she put her mouth to Sorna's ear and said mischievously, softly, "Be careful what you say. My playful mother, without telling me, got a boyfriend. What do I know? She got married and is now pregnant." Sorna entered the room with Sarca. Seeing Sarca's mother, he was as if he had been struck by lightning, and he immediately slammed the door. His head was spinning and he felt nauseous. With a lump in his throat, he ran to the bathroom. Sarca's mother, who had not been able to see Sorna completely, asked, "What's wrong, Sarca? Is he sick?" She and her mother went to the bathroom and saw Sarina, like a ghost, sitting on the floor in the bathroom, his eyes not even blinking. Sarca's mother, seeing Sorna, cried and said, "Oh, my dear, what are you doing here? Why did you leave me? Look, look, your child is in my belly. How long have I been looking for you?" And she hugged him and started kissing him head and face. Sarca, who was stunned by that scene, did not know what to do and tried to calm her mother so that they would know what to do with this incredible story. But the mother would not calm down and continued to moan and say, You, my only love, are now living with my daughter, and you've made her pregnant too." And she kept crying and kissing Sorna. Sarca, who was confused and dazed by her mother's words, said, "Mother, how do you know Sorna? How did you get pregnant from him? Did he know that you were pregnant and left you? After all, how is this possible? He didn't tell me anything about you." Sarina stood up and said while crying, "He didn't know I was pregnant when he left me." And she went and brought a bowl of cold water and poured it on Sorna's head to bring him back to herself. Sorna came out of shock. The two helped him go to the living room and sit on the sofa. A few minutes later, when he felt a little better, Sarina said, "Honey, why did you leave me without telling me? Didn't you think that I would die without you? If this child of yours wasn't in my belly, I would have killed myself by now. With this child in my belly, I felt that you hadn't left me, and that you were inside me." And tears flowed from her eyes. Sarca, who was completely confused by this scene, said, "Mother, don't cry. Well, now I'm pregnant with Sorna too. I'm going crazy. Tell me, what should we do? Can't a mother and daughter live a married life with the same man?" Sorna, who had gotten better, said angrily, No, we can't be together." The mother and daughter replied, "We are pregnant with you, and we both love you and can, and want to live together and raise your children together." And they went to him and hugged him and kissed his head and face. The bitter thing was that they did not know that Sorna was their son and brother, and Sorna could not tell them this terrible truth and put two other people in a heart-wrenching torment besides herself. But what could he really do? When the children were born, what would happen to them? A displacement, an unwanted migration, had caused this disaster, and it is not known how many other displaced people are suffering from such a terrible story.